Hey, what's going on? This is Doug Huntington. We'll call it the Doug Show Live. Let me know if you could hear me in the chat. This is indeed live, and today we're going to talk about pages. We're going to look at sort of the best practices for about pages, and the thing is, we're going to use ChatGPT to get some help. I can hear myself, so that is a good sign. And thanks, folks that are on here live. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoy it, if I answer your question or anything like that. And most people watch the replay later, so do check out the replay. Leave a comment if you enjoy it, and I appreciate you checking it out. I'll hit the thumbs up myself right there. Daniel's here, and he can hear me. Excellent. And we have KC is asking about Word Hero AI. Do I know about it? Any comments or recommendations? So I have heard of Word Hero. I have not used it. My general consensus for most of the tools that are out there are not super positive. I haven't used them all, obviously, but generally what I've seen with ChatGPT is it absolutely buries the other tools that I've tried. So I've tested a handful of them. I have the most experience with Jasper, and basically Jasper wasn't that great for what I was trying to use it for, and ChatGPT is much better. When I was paying for Jasper, it had a chat beta feature, but it was essentially the same thing that you could get for a fraction of the price from OpenAI. They had a chat in the playground area, and it was much, much cheaper. David is on. What's going on? We have Umair and J. Paul. What's up? Joanne's here as well. So thanks everybody for hopping on. We're going to look at about pages. We're going to use ChatGPT, and we'll actually look at my own about page. So we are looking generally at blogs, not like e-commerce sites, not drop shipping sites. You may learn some things, but essentially we'll be figuring out some of the best ways to create an about page, the information that you would want to include. If you maybe already have a blog, you could figure out things that you need to add in there. If you don't have a blog yet, you can learn a very good way to do it. And I would say, now that I'm just saying this out loud, there's probably an opportunity, although, man, I hate getting random cold emails, but there is an opportunity for someone to figure out how to write really good about pages and then go to websites that don't have good about pages and say, hey, I can write it for you. It's a productized service essentially. And you could just say, hey, I do really good about pages. You're missing these things. I can add them for you, and it costs $45 or whatever. And then you can maybe even give them a little sample. Sure, it may not convert for some people, but if someone doesn't want to do the work, they don't know what to include, the thing is, it's often on our list, like my to-do list. Potentially, it was like, maybe I should redo my about page, and maybe that has been on the list for several months, and I just haven't done it because it'll take a few minutes, but I'm like, there's something else I could do instead. So basically, you could make this a service that you could earn some good money from. And it's pretty quick to turn around. So I recommend, right off the bat, if you take a look at the show notes here, or I guess the description, you can get my prompt engineering cheat sheet, which I highly recommend. There's a lot of just straight up prompts you can use directly. And all you have to do is head over to this link. It's basically a spot where you could put in your email address, and then I will send you an email. You have to confirm your email address, and then you get the cheat sheet, which is a Google Doc. And I want to be able to add to it and adapt it in the future as things change, but it's 5 pages. There's no sort of filler in there. It's just pure useful stuff, and you could check it out. And we'll hop over to ChatGPT And I have been seeing a little pop-up error in the last couple days where GPT-4 will say we're having issues with GPT-4. We're looking into it. I'm not sure. The other thing is, there's a cap of 25 messages for every 3 hours. I do pay for Plus, which is a great bargain at $20 per month. But for this case, I think we could probably just use 3.5. 3.5 isn't as good as reasoning or conciseness, but it is very fast and the speed will be welcome in this case. Oh, we have Ariel in the chat today as well. So let's start off just asking some questions here. So I'll just say, like, what are good things to put on an about page for a blog? And the thing is, we could go and research and go and look up articles on like HubSpot or other websites that are ranking in Google and get some information. There's a good chance we'll have to go and hunt around and look and maybe piece together something. It turns out, like in many cases, ChatGPT gets us really far without having to explore much farther. So I'm going to scoot this up. Hopefully everyone can see it a little bit better. I'm going to zoom in there. So we end up with a few items that we can put in here. So number one, you would want to have an introduction. So brief intro of yourself in the blog, and it can be your name, what the blog is about, and what inspired you to start. It can have your background. So information like where you're from, what you do, and what your interests are. Your mission statement. So this is where you would explain your blog's purpose and mission. What do you hope to achieve, and what's your message or vision? Next is your values. So I think, looking into it, I think your values maybe can fold into your mission statement, pretty similar, but you can talk about your core values and beliefs and help the readers understand what motivates you and what they can expect. You can talk about your expertise. So that's really helpful, especially in kind of the blogs that we talk about often, where you might have expertise in a particular area, and then that helps establish credibility, authority, trust, and all that kind of stuff. Next is the audience. So you could talk about the target audience and who you're writing for, kind of like who should be reading the blog. Next is accomplishments. So you could share any relevant accomplishments or awards that you've received, and that can help establish authority in your field. So this could also be like social proof, where you note places you've been featured. Maybe you've been on the news, maybe you've been in newspapers or something like that. Next is contact info. So a way to get in touch with you. That could be an email address or social media or whatever. So we have 8 pretty good components here. And one thing, just working generally with ChatGPT, you can say, hey, is there anything else you could include that's maybe a little extra? So we'll just ask that. That's even more in depth or takes it to the next level. So then often, whenever you ask the first question, you'll get an answer. But if you ask for more, you often can get more. Some things are not going to be relevant. So this one is mostly good. So your story. So you could talk about your personal story and the journey. It can help connect readers on a deeper level. You could talk about the team in case you do have other contributors. You could talk about your process. You can explain the process for creating content, how you come up with ideas, how you research, how you write. This could be really effective for an affiliate type site. So let's say we do reviews on software that we are using to do our job. So you can talk about how you come up with those ideas, how you use the tool, how you research, how you actually write it, and then it adds authenticity and maybe a little more credibility. Further, you can add testimonials. So that could be from readers or clients who have benefited from your blog or services or whatever it is you do. Again, that is social proof. It establishes authority and credibility and kind of, well, it's a testimonial. So if you are selling something, it can help sell. Next is media mention. So this kind of goes back to what I mentioned before. If you've been on the news, if you've been on other blogs, if you've been on podcasts, YouTube channels, you could put them there, and it builds your authority overall and credibility. So now we have about 13 things that you can put on your about page. So now I'll ask for everything sort of consolidated. So provide the list of 13 items in a consolidated list. And the next thing we're going to do, so this is kind of the next level of what we're looking for to use ChatGPT. I've said it a couple times, but just asking for content is a little bit boring. You can use ChatGPT for research. So what you can do here, so we do have the list. I kind of want the comprehensive list kind of in the form of a template. So now I'll ask for the template. Provide a, I'll put it in quotes, about page template with the 13 items and all the details and questions to answer for each section. So for the smartest people in the crowd here, you are already thinking. I think I have 4 prompts here. We have probably one of the most comprehensive templates for an about page. Some of them are not going to apply. We have 13 items here. We have 3 questions per item. A couple of them are going to fall out, right? Maybe I don't have a team, so I would take that out. But basically, you could take this, answer the questions, and then have a full about page. You could use this as a template. You could give this to a writer and say, hey, you can fill in the blanks. Some of the stuff is personal. You won't know those answers, but you could fill in as much as you can. And it says these are, ChatGPT tells us it's just suggestions, and you could customize the template to fit your needs and the needs of the blog. Again, you have 3 questions for each one of these. So you don't have to answer them all. It just gives you something to talk about. And this is an area that would build a huge amount of credibility, trust, and the authority that we're looking for. So this is pretty solid as it is. Now I'll ask maybe something like, is there anything that we can include to help Google trust our site more? Which I don't know, what ChatGPT might say here. Okay, is there anything we could add to the about page to build more trust with Google so the site will rank better? Okay, and Joanne has a question here. So Joanne says, would you hire writers with credentials so that you can add to your about page for EEAT? So that's experience, expertise, authority, and trust, which all sounds a little redundant to me. So potentially, yes, you could hire writers with credentials to help you out. My question, and actually, folks, you can educate me here. So obviously, Google wants us to have expertise, authority, and trust. Great. We're told we can add things to our about page to help build that. But is Google actually going and manually reviewing or algorithmically evaluating the validity of whatever it is on your about page? So I can go back to our template. I can fill it with exactly what I think Google wants to hear with credentials. I could fill it in with authentic ideas and expertise and just do all, like, check every box for EAT. If no one is verifying that, then does it really matter? Again, people educate me. Am I simplifying it too much? I don't think people are manually reviewing our sites at scale. Handful of sites, maybe they're getting reviewed. There's a big document that talks about like the the reviewer guidelines, basically. But what are they really doing? How is a site getting this authority and trust? I kind of think it's still via backlinks. That's my guess. It's still via backlinks because we can just put anything that we want on the about page. We literally can just make stuff up. We can use Midjourney. That's the next step, right? On the about page, by the way. We can use Midjourney to have AI images of some random person. We don't have to get like these fake images that are put together. We can get like a pretty good looking photographic portrait, like beautiful images now in like 30 seconds or so, or a minute, whatever. And it looks real. We could be doing the activity. Like I've been playing around with Yellowstone images and having like a bison and a geyser in the background. And I can like plot myself in the image and it looks like a really nice photo. It's really quite good. So anyway, the point is, Joanne, in theory, yes, you can hire someone with credentials so that you have EAT. But I wonder how Google is actually checking this. I'm not saying don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, how are they checking it? Are people really looking? Is someone going to your website and they're like, is that person really a doctor? And then they're like trying to find your medical license and other documentation on that. I mean, I don't think it's happening. So leave a comment. People let me know what is really happening. But I don't think people are manually reviewing your site. Okay. So I asked ChatGPT if we could do things to build trust with Google to improve search engine rankings. So they actually went the SEO route. So use keywords strategically, link to social media accounts, add schema markup, optimize for mobile, improve page speed, and get backlinks. So not really. And the last statement doesn't quite make sense. By implementing these strategies on your about page and throughout your website, you can improve your website's trust with Google and then boost your search engine ranking. So kind of a soft way to look at it. But what we have here is 13 points to put on the about page. So what we're going to do next is look at my actual about page over on Niche Site Project. And I'm going to feed that in. I have not done this before. I'm going to feed that in. And then I'm going to ask for a gap analysis on what I need to add to my about page, what can be improved, and some other things in there. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to roll an ad from the sponsor today, which is Otis Global, the source for premium age domains. And I'll be right back. I got to do this to rest my voice. So I'll be right back here. Brought to you by Otis Global, the source for premium age domains. These are domains that mean business. And today we're going to be looking at a site called cowaldesign.com. I'm not sure 100% how to say that, but it was a domain that provided expertise in corporate identity, annual reports, and technical publications, advertising, and website design, which is actually going to be kind of funny because we're going to look at the website. The thing is, we could take a look over here on Otis, and I want to point out, if this domain isn't for you, they have thousands of others. And the thing is, there's a wide range of prices, and you could filter. There's actually a budget filter that you could do. And there's hiking, there's fashion, there's bundles. So you could search for whatever you need, but you could take a look at this specific domain if you want to. And the thing is, this domain was purchased back in, get this, 1996. It's 27 years old, and you get the logo. You know, if you get from Otis here, then you get the logo. But let's dive into a few more details. And if you look over at Ahrefs, the URL rating on the homepage is 31 and the domain rating is 20. And you can see, you know, there were still some visitors way back in 2016 or so. And then it kind of trailed off. There really wasn't much going on the last few years here. And the thing is, you get these domains because they have such a strong backlink profile. And this one here has 165 domains pointing at it. And the thing is, we're going to dive into the 127 that are do follow. Those are the ones that matter. So it's pbs.org, fool.com/.org. And let's see if there's some others that we recognize really easy. Learner.org, Pearson.com. And anyway, there's a bunch of them. There's a lot of them, and they're very strong. And the thing is, it was kind of a general, I would say, kind of a business strategy type site. So with the links that it has in kind of the general area that it looked at was corporate identity, annual reports, technical publication, advertising, and website design, you kind of can focus on business in a general sense and marketing and sort of positioning and that sort of thing. So you can have informational topics, of course, but you could have reviews on products that maybe like designers and marketers need. Plus, you can have these specific products that are fairly lucrative if you refer them as an affiliate. So that would be the other angle. So pretty traditional way to approach things. And this is the website from May 16th, 2001. I mean, this is a long time ago. This is what websites looked like. And the funny thing is, I took a look at a few of the other years here. So this is 2004. And the main difference is they got a new PO box. So originally it was in Durham, and then now it's in Chapel Hill, which I think is down the street. And then this one's from 2008. And again, we basically see the same site. I didn't dive in much farther, but the point is, you can see it's a simple website. And the big thing is these awesome backlinks, these 127 do follow links. A lot of opportunity here if you want to check it out. If you want to head over to Otis, they have a make an offer situation. So if you see a domain, but it's outside of your budget, or you want to negotiate something like that, then you can make an offer. Additionally, if you join using my affiliate link, you can get $100 in your account. And if you buy something, I might get a commission, which I appreciate. So thanks a lot to Otis Global. And we are back. So we'll take a look at about pages a little bit more. And if you are just joining in, you can rewind and see we got a very good template in about 3 to 4 prompts from ChatGPT for about pages, and several questions that you could sort of answer and go through the exercise. I mean, you would have to answer those questions to make it accurate, but we could play around with a couple things in a second to make that easier. You can get my prompt engineering cheat sheet here if you want to. It is free. you just have to hop over here, follow that link in the description, and then you can sign up here. Just put in your email address. You have to confirm your email, and then you get the cheat sheet here, which is, it's 5 pages. So it's not just one sheet. It's like 5 sheets, but there's no fat in here, and you could just check what you need. Look at that, sort of adapt it to whatever you want to do, and go from there. So this is my blog over here. It's called Niche Site Project. Here's an about page, which, sadly, there's some portions of it that I haven't changed since 2013. There's a couple little spots in there. I do have certain pieces that are noted, like who I am. I have some places I've been featured. I have some things that I'm going to cover and a couple images. So the thing is, some of the phrasing, and I actually remember this, I looked at people that I was following, and I really liked the way they said certain things and the way they formatted. I mean, I followed a template for this, and some of the phrasing that I use is highly derivative from what they said. I mean, the details are different, but like the structure of the paragraph is really similar. So I'm due for an update in a serious way. And I've done a couple things here and there, but I mean, like this picture here, that's our old dog. And that was in 2015. And he's been dead for like 6 years now. So like some of these things are a little older, and I do need to update it. So what we're going to do is, like most people, like you already have a blog, you have an about page, and you have the opportunity to improve it. So we have this template with 13 items here from essentially the research that ChatGPT did for us. So we're able to use that. We're sort of able to take a shortcut and just kind of fill in the blanks here. So what we're going to do though, I'm going to go back up here, and let's see. I'm going to tell ChatGPT to remember the about page with the 13 items and the questions. I'm going to tell it to remember as the about page template. Okay. Please. I mean, it should remember this, but I'm going to try something that we're all going to learn in real time. So I'm going to say, remember this as a template. And I'll say, do you understand? Yes, I understand. And then it's going to type it all out, but we can just say stop because we don't need to see that again. And quick note, Ariel does mention her pages have AI written writer stories, and it talks about how long they've been working in the field and their different roles. And the thing is, it's mixed in. So these fake personas are mixed in with real writers that she's used in the past. So Ariel, I'm interested. Are you, from an ethical standpoint, do you have any reservations on these fake personas that have basically made up histories and years in the field? Any issues with that? Or people out there? What do you think about just making up a fake person and having a pseudonym writer and a fake persona out there? And I mean, people, you could do whatever you want. I'm not here to judge you. You do whatever you want to do, and that's fine with me. I don't care. I'm just asking questions. These are areas that you may have to think about ethically yourself. And if someone was asking you like, hey, what do you do? Do you have a website? Oh, this is your website and it has all this experience. That's amazing. You were able to hire that person. And then you have to say, well, it's actually not a real person. It's just a persona, and they actually don't have experience. So it's completely fictitious. Okay. So what we're going to do here, we have this template. Now I'm going to attempt to copy and paste all of this stuff. And some things I'm going to have to, it's not going to make sense. Obviously, none of the links will go over, the images won't go over, but I'm going to tell ChatGPT what I'm going to do and kind of walk through this. So I'm going to say, I want you to evaluate my current about page. And I'll mention that I'll copy and paste it in. And then I'll say, I want you to tell me the good parts, the bad parts, and what I should add so that it meets the 13 items in the template. And what we can do, we'll probably be able to get this in a cleaner format if we describe it in a certain way. So I'm going to put a colon here. I'm not 100% sure if it'll work, but I'll say what is good in my about page. We'll say what is missing in my about page. And we'll say actually we'll change this up just a little bit. I'm going to move this. Oops, I didn't want to send that yet. We're going to hop back up. So if you ever do that and you accidentally hit return, you can go back up and edit what you have up there. So we'll say what's good in my about page, what needs to be improved, and what is missing in my about page, I'll say current about page to meet the about page template. And then I'll go down and I'll say current about page, and then we'll put it here. And then I'm just going to paste everything in here. That's not what we want. So we have everything over here. And we'll paste it in here. Fingers crossed that we're going to be able to put in this amount of content. I think we can. It's not too much. And we'll click save and submit. And hopefully it's not too much text. Okay, great. So quick recap while it's typing all this stuff out. We asked about a specific set of things that should be in an about page. We asked about other things we can add, so we have a comprehensive list. Then we asked for a template along with questions or topics that we should include for each one of the areas. So I then went over to my current about page, copied and pasted it into this and said, what's good, what's bad, what do I need to include? So now we have a specific list of exactly what we're looking for. And this is, I'm going to go full screen here. So this is how I think people should be using ChatGPT as an assistant to help you figure out how to do research, maybe save you a little time in certain areas. Instead of Googling and like reading a bunch of garbage, you can just get a consolidated list. Now, in this particular case, I happen to know about pages. I know what things make sense. I know what things don't really make sense. If I was looking for the latest information, let's say I'm going to buy a Tesla soon. and I want to compare it to, what's the other one? Rivian. So now I want to compare it to Rivian. I'm probably not going to be able to ask ChatGPT because the data is just too old. Things are changing. There's new things we have to think about, even with like cars, right? Cars that are not like changing super fast. I mean, but there's new things that I would need to consider. So I wouldn't go to ChatGPT for stuff like that. But for things like this, where there's probably like a pretty solid best practices list, you can just do this kind of straight up. You don't have to like question things. If it doesn't make sense, maybe you do some research. Maybe things don't apply, but generally you can roll with this stuff. So, what's good? You introduce yourself and your blog and explain what it's about. You highlight the main topics. You mention your expertise and experience in project management and Amazon affiliate marketing. I share personal anecdotes and information. I include links to YouTube and the podcast. I mentioned where my work has been featured. I wasn't sure if it was going to pick that up, but it did. I mean, the image didn't get picked up, but ChatGPT interpreted that there was some information about featured on. I provide contact information. So, what needs to be improved? The introduction could be more engaging and unique. Consider starting with a story or anecdote. The page could benefit from a more organized structure with subheadings, bullet points to break it up. So the thing is, we actually do use subheadings and bullet points, but the formatting doesn't come over. I just copied and pasted straight up text. So that one isn't relevant, but it's a good point. There's a lot of information on the page, but it could be more focused and streamlined. Remove sections that are not directly related to the blog's main topics. The page could benefit from more images or visual elements to break up the text. And of course, I do have images in there, but it could benefit from more, actually, because the thing is, when I pasted it in, I think it says like Grand Teton's family pick. There's a couple notes of like what the images are, but I would say I agree. There could be more images in there. What's missing based on the template? So, a clear mission statement that explains the purpose and goals of your blog, information about your target audience and how your blog serves their needs, testimonials or social proof that demonstrate expertise, links to social media so readers can follow and engage, and a call to action that encourages readers to take a specific action, such as downloading a resource or signing up for the newsletter, which I literally have that in there, I think twice. So it is, it's not at the bottom. It should be at the bottom. It's definitely right here after the little intro. So it's right here, but there should be another one. So finally, overall, your About page provides a lot of information about you and your blog. It could benefit from some improvements to make it more focused and engaging. Incorporating the elements from the template we discussed earlier could help optimize the About page for search engines and make it more effective at engaging your audience. Okay, so before we go and we're actually going to ask ChatGPT to make the improvement, so obviously there's some stuff that I need to put in there, but we can ask for some improvements. It sees the tone of voice already, so I have a feeling it should be able to adhere to that pretty well. So I'm going to hop back to the chat, and I'm sorry that I took a long time to get back here, but Spencer says, could you argue that fake personas are akin to pen names in the past? Yes, you can, Spencer. However, I think the issue is I'm going to go to an extreme example and then one that's more moderate. So I think you may get this in one of the other chats that you mentioned here, but like, if it's an area where someone's pretending to be a doctor and they're like, I've practiced medicine for X number of years, and then they give advice, well, that seems bad, right? Because like you're building up trust in an area that is not trustworthy. It may or may not be correct, but you're misrepresenting your actual experience. So that's the extreme example where like clearly that's not a good idea. But let's say I really like beer and I brew beer, all of which is true. But let's say I have a blog and I'm not actually doing the writing. I'm using ChatGPT or maybe other tools to get the writing done. Let's say I make up some personas that have a history that actually lines up with mine, and maybe it's a little bit exaggerated, but it's not too much. Let's say someone says, "Hey, I've worked at a brewery for 15 years, so I've been in the industry and I worked at a homebrew shop." And let's say there's like three or four, there's a combination of like, people that maybe they were bartenders, maybe they're just hobbyists, maybe they brew at home, but like you can see some combo where it makes it seem like there's an expert or a set of experts writing for the site, when in reality there's just like one person who's maybe a little experienced. So that one maybe is not too bad. Maybe it just looks like there's a lot of writers there, but maybe it's like a pen name. I'm not sure. Okay. Michael says, I've never seen deception pay off. Pen names are one thing, but real personas or otherwise. Yep. And Spencer mentions it's a real person creating and editing the content using AI as a tool. Perhaps you have different styles under a different pen name, like a prominent author would do, which I think that is different than, pretending like there's people that have experience that they don't. Daniel says, in my opinion, 90% of the niches is acceptable, but when it comes to medical advice, I would feel more comfortable if the sources were from real doctors or medical practitioners. And I mean, there's a whole your money or your life area, which Spencer mentions here. So YM, YL, your money or your life. And I mean, the financial industry is the same way. Like, you're not supposed to give like financial advice unless you're qualified, and if you do, like, it's filled with like disclaimers. I have a personal finance podcast, and we're often saying like, hey, this is just entertainment, like consult your own professionals, blah blah blah, it's not advice. And it's like, whenever people are saying that, they're literally giving you like not advice. It sure sounds like advice though, but like when you hear people say the disclaimer, it's just for, legal reasons. They're trying to give you advice. All right. And Jesse says, I didn't realize you could edit. This is 3.5 or 4. You could edit in both. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you could edit. You just pop back up to wherever you put in your message. And there's a little edit thing right here, which might be covered up. Let me move it so that you definitely can see it. Yeah, the little thing is right there. So you just click that, and then you're able to edit it, and then you submit, and you get the response back as you would expect. And let me zoom back out just a touch here. I want to make sure you can see the prompt area as well. So Spencer says that I copy to a Word document, edit, and put it back in if I want a specific edit, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh, yeah. So apparently people didn't know that you could edit. Yeah. So you could edit. It's cool. Yeah, because sometimes like you put the prompt in wrong or you hit return too soon like I just did. And that is easier to do depending on what you're trying to do. Okay. So what we're going to do, we have the tips here, and what we'll just make it pretty simple, and we'll say we'll get a couple of these. So I'll say provide improvements in these areas. I'm going to take out the organized structure because I already have bullet points and subheadings, but it just wasn't reflected. So I'll put just 1 and 2, and I will ask to have to rewrite the page considering the improvements. And I'll also say, ask questions if you need more information. So this is something I haven't done specifically, but what we're going to do is train ChatGPT in this case to actually prompt us for information so that it could fill in an about page. So the cool part with doing it like this is we might be able to write in short answers. So let's say it's going to ask us for a little story or an anecdote. So I could mention 3 or 4 bullet points that are a story, and then ChatGPT will turn that into a narrative intro instead of me having to take the bullet points and turn it into something longer. So I'll say, ask me questions if you need info for the story, or if you need anything else. So we'll see if this works. So it'll rewrite the whole thing. It'll integrate the things that we need to improve on. And there were a couple of them that it didn't really need to work, or that we didn't need to do anything with. So we'll be able to use it straight up. Okay. So it starts off, do you feel overwhelmed with all the tasks? I know the feeling. When I started building Amazon niche sites, I struggled to manage the workload, but then I discovered the power of project management and it changed everything. I'm Doug Cunnington, and I'm here to help you streamline your productivity, improve your SEO strategies, and build successful niche sites using proven project management tactics. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. Here's exactly what you can expect to find on the blog. Great. Project management doesn't have to be complicated. It's about planning ahead and knowing what to do next, and that's what I'm here to teach you. Cool. So this is pretty good. Next, we have a couple areas that are missing. So we'll do the first 2. We'll do this in a similar way. So we'll ask for the improvements. I'll tell them exactly what the improvements are, and then we'll go from there. So I'm actually going to copy this. So provide improvements in these areas to the updated about page. And then we'll get rid of these 2 because we already did that. We'll put in 1 and 2. Perfect. So in this case, I have not specifically told ChatGPT my clear mission statement or the goals or anything that detailed. So I expect it might ask me for more information. So we'll see what happens. And I am saying use the updated about page. So let's see what we come up with here. And for the people just tuning in, we're using 3.5 here, and the speed is great. For most of the stuff that I've been doing, I haven't found a huge benefit from using GPT-4. So I need to probably push the limits and figure out okay, this is where I can get more help, or these are things where GPT-4 is better. I do have some actual chatbots that I have moved from 3.5 to 4, and that's been good, but I haven't seen anything where I'm like, okay, this is clearly a difference. I haven't done the head-to-head comparisons. So let's see. We asked in this case for a clear mission statement. So we see this: my mission is to help digital entrepreneurs and budding smart passive income earners become effective project managers so they can achieve their goals and grow their businesses faster than ever before, which largely that was in before, but it wasn't stated as the mission statement. So that's good. It's very clear. The other was information about the target audience and how the blog serves their needs. So this was kind of embedded in there, but I think this will probably be explicitly stated. So my blog is aimed at anyone who wants to build a successful Amazon affiliate niche site and improve their productivity and project management skills. Whether you're a beginner or experienced, this blog can help. Perfect. Further, my target audience includes digital entrepreneurs, affiliate marketers, and anyone who wants to learn how to manage their workload more effectively and achieve their goals. Cool. And there's a little bit more detail there. So at this point, we've done, a lot of the gap analysis, and ChatGPT actually filled in pretty well without me having to write it specifically. And that is kind of the goal, right? It told us where the issues were, and then it actually filled in the gaps for me. So now I'll say, what else should I add to the updated about page? And I won't even mention the template specifically. All right, and I'll say Vasi is here. Happy to see you live. I've seen most of your videos and appreciate all the things you do for us. Great, appreciate that. Thanks for the support. Use 3.5 due to the limits of 4 in terms of prompts. Yeah, I think they limit it to 25 per 3 hours at this point. And then, I was afraid I was going to run out. So, and Vasi says, what if you add a twist and tell it to write as a human would do? So I'll do that in a second, but I put in my about page, which was written by me, and it largely, it's kind of rephrased a couple things, but it kept most of what I stated. I think it cleaned up some grammar issues and probably some typos, but largely it wrote as me, which is human. So I don't feel like I need to do that. If I was getting it to write it from scratch, I would be more concerned. But let's see. So I'll say rewrite the updated about page as a human would write it. And I'll say, please highlight, please point out the changes with at the end of the line. So I'm going to human in brackets at the end of the line, or at the end of the, yeah. So basically, I want to know what it's going to change, like what the actual difference is. I'm not sure if it'll work, but it should. So it says, here's a rewrite of the updated about page as a human might write it with changes marked human. And I put it at the end of the line, so now it's going to say it in every single paragraph. Okay. So let's change this. It's not really what I intended. So we'll put at the end of the... All right, we'll do... Actually, we'll put it in brackets, okay? So we'll do... Point out the changes with human before the change and close human at the end of the updated phrases. So we'll see if this works. I don't know if it'll work. Okay. So I think it's going to do the same thing. So like everything is updated, and Fred is here. What's up, Fred? And Vasi says, sometimes I find that it is nice to give examples in the prompts. I will give you 3 examples, and I want you to act as an expert about page writer and write an about page based on the examples while adding the following, and then add whatever you want. Okay, perfect. Yeah, and that is typically how I use ChatGPT as well. And, you can check out, like, I have a niche site project strategist that I've trained over here. So if you go to the top, this is the full prompt. You can get this on my over here for free, the prompt engineering cheat sheet, and like how to train bots to do specific things. But exactly what you're talking about, Vasi. So it's like, I want you to act as a content strategist for a content creator with a podcast, YouTube channel, and blog, and draw on knowledge as part of the strategy, focus on actionable tips, provide guidance on the podcast, and so on. I've done that for my personal finance blog too. I want you to act as an AI content strategist for a financial independence retire early expert with a podcast, YouTube, and a blog. So exactly what you're talking about. And I added a note here to be funny and sarcastic as well. So there's like little things that you can add to make it a little bit more specific. So in this case, we ended up with updates on basically everything. So I wanted it to like tag anything that was changed. Let's try one more thing and then we'll start to wrap up here. Point out the changes with bold text, which is easier than the open brackets. Okay. And Vasi, one last thing, like based on your note, you give 3 examples, and then you ask ChatGPT to do something based on the examples that you've given, and that's literally something that I've done, not for about pages, but like I have a video coming out fairly soon where I'll just explain it here. You get product reviews that are good, say like from the Wirecutter, maybe you get a couple of those reviews, maybe from Outdoor Gear Lab, and I don't know, some other review site, right? So you fill in 3 reviews. Hey, here's a best practice world-class review. Here's another one. Here's another one. Then you could say, create a template to do product review content. And then you potentially can get a template where you just fill in the info, like you fill in the information from the manufacturer's website, all the specs. Maybe you could put in some reviews from Amazon or wherever you can get reviews. And then you can say, write a review based on the template and the core information that I've fed you. And you could have like a product review bot that is trained to do that specifically, and it's an expert in a certain area. So let's see if I was able to get any bold. No, it didn't bold anything for me. I thought I could write bold in the responses here, but I don't see any of it. Anyway, this is how you can improve your about page or write one from scratch. So thanks everyone for hopping on. And so I think Bahat got here late, and it just says, what are you trying to do? So maybe it's out of context, your question, but we use ChatGPT to write about pages and improve about pages. So you can check it out. Thanks to Otis, the sponsor out there. If you want the cheat sheet, follow the link in the description. It is free. Plus, there's AI resources where I publish other content, and there are some lessons. Some are video, some are written, but the cheat sheet gives you pure information. There's no BS in there. It's just stuff you can use. So thanks a lot for hopping on. If you like these, I do them once a week, usually at this time, Tuesdays at noon Mountain Time. That's all for today. Have a great week, and we'll catch you at the next one.